The Spurs it is. Can we be a Grizzly Bear? Parker, Ginobili, and Duncan. Oh my! Some silly thoughts about the playoffs. An update from Golden State. The draft is today, and the quote of the year. It's all next on tip off. That's because a bunch of people don't like the drum roll. So I just thought I wouldn't do it for a day. I just thought I'd see how empty it felt with no drum roll. It'll come back. I promise. I just thought it'd be a different way to do it. How is everybody? We play the last and final day of the regular season today, and it's meaningless, which is stunning, which is cool. We are the 8th playoff spot against the San Antonio Spurs. And so the focus turns there. Podcast will try to be produced all day. Today's crazy. Kind of weird how just an hour tip-off change alters everything in your day, but it does. On the broadcast tonight, if you get a chance to tune in, I'm going to try to talk to each of the players today and get their favorite moment of the year, kind of the thing they'll tell their kids the most memorable moment and favorite moment of the year from each of the guys, and have those for you during the broadcast, which I thought would be some fun. If you would like to go to the playoffs, if you think you want to see this team and be a part of this team, if you buy season tickets for next year, you get those same seats for the playoffs this year. I'm assuming season ticket renewal rate will be pretty high, so this is a pretty good way to get it done. Upper bowl tickets start as low as $10. Lower bowl start as low as $49. Payment plans available for every budget. 801-325-2999. You could find another buddy, do it together, split the season tickets. There's a lot of things you can do. So I know it's money. I'm not going to tell you how to spend yours. I know everybody's tight, but this team has definitely been a lot of fun and worth following, so if you get a chance. So a year ago, the Memphis Grizzlies, the 8th seed, physically pounded the San Antonio Spurs out of the playoffs as the 8th seed beating the 1 seed. And thus the question immediately gets asked, could we be the Grizzlies? There's a lot. Watching it last year, I thought there are a lot of similarities. And when you look down our roster, I really think there are a lot of similarities to our two teams. I think Zach Randolph last year and Al Jefferson this year are very similar. I think that Marc Gasol has an interesting factor that we don't quite match up, but favors as a defensive presence that Memphis doesn't quite have. Mike Conley and Devin Harris are very similar. Devin actually might be a little better. Damari Carroll, frankly, is playing our version of Tony Allen. Probably can't hit the outside shot quite as well. They didn't have much experience. We don't have much experience. Our big lineup, Gordon Hayward, Rudy Gay. Rudy can score probably a little easier one-on-one. O.J. Mayo, we don't have that kind of guy coming off the bench as a scorer, so we're not quite there. Memphis is probably a better team. But there are some similarities to it. Size-wise, pounding down low. If the Spurs have a weakness, it's a little bit of defense. The Grizzlies were able. Remember, they made some late shots, and that series probably changes more on everything that Ginobili's not healthy. If we're really if we really look back, if the Spurs win that series, if Ginobili is healthy, and that is probably the area where the comparison is most faulty. But I'm not sure that this is a matchup that the Spurs love. I'm not sure the Spurs want to be fit against a team that can physically pound you the way that the Jazz are going to try to do. This whole experience for the Jazz is going to be awesome. And my suspicion is that by the end of it, the Jazz will leave this and we will have locker clearout day with a successful season, with a wide-eyed sudden realization of what it truly takes to win in the NBA. Because the Spurs are on fire. Let me tell you, when I ran some numbers last night, what I discovered was flat out stunning. All right. Offensively, this is the best team in the NBA. Now, everybody wants to talk about the Spurs about a lot of things, but the Spurs are playing at an offensive level that is, frankly, rarely been seen recently. They are scoring per 100 possessions about 119 points a game, 118.8. The next best in the league over the last 10 games is the Nuggets at 115. Like the idea that somebody has a 3-point per 100 possession advantage over the second best team is incredible. They've got a 10-point advantage over the next average team. I mean, it's beyond comprehension. They won again last night playing the Suns without their guys again. And they're not playing their guys again tonight against the Warriors. We'll touch on that in a second. So when you look at the Spurs team, the Jazz are just running into a team that's on a different level. They're the number one offensive team in the league for the entire year, obviously. And even that's by 1.5 over Oklahoma City and Denver and the Clippers. So the Jazz just are running into a team that it's a juggernaut. The only thing they haven't done great is defensively. They're only 11th in the NBA for the year. So then you go run and say, well, has that been fixed at all? Yep. In the last 10 games, they're the fourth best defensive team. Per 100 possessions, they're outscoring their opponents by 16 points over the last 10 games. I'm not sure I've ever seen that. Then you go to offensively, like what are they doing? It's unreal. They have 3 of the 4 hottest players in the league right now. What they have is they have Manu Ginobili, who really has been miscast and misunderstood by NBA people since the first day he entered the league. He's Kobe Bryant. He just doesn't play as many minutes. So he's not as good. But when you go look on the floor at his production level of what he brings to the table, he is Kobe Bryant. Now, the last 10 games, all of a sudden, Tim Duncan's averaging 19.7 rebounds and 2 blocks a game, shooting 62%. Ginobili is shooting 54%, 35 from 3, and 85 from the free throw line. And who the heck is Danny Green they got off the scrap heap? But over the last 10 games, he's shooting 60% from 3. He's 25 of 42. Okay, so those are, over the last 10 games, the second, third, and fourth best offensive players in the NBA. Harden is the best. Then Brandon Rush of the Warriors actually kicks in. And then your next two best offensive players in the NBA are Gary Neal and Thiago Splitter. These guys are so hot, they have 5 of the top 8 offensive players in the NBA over the last 10 games. Never seen this. Gary Neal is 13 of his last 19 from 3. Thiago Splitter is shooting 64%. Our big lineup can take a chance at this thing, but the only thing I'd say is the Spurs just move the ball with such alacrity and precision that I'm not sure that as well as we're rotating right now, we're going to be able to deal with it. Now, there's no question to me it's our best way to deal with it. But this is the roster that my guess is will be unfazed by the big roster because it's that good. Uh, really on the Manu Kobe thing, if you go compare them for 36 minutes for most of their career, they're really are stunningly similar. Duncan's playing well. Parker's who Parker is. I mean, I do think the big lineup is what our answer is. Uh, and, then that leads to the next question that everyone's asking is whether the big lineup is our future lineup. At this point, I don't see why not. I don't see, obviously depends what's available on the trade market and where you're heading. But I don't see why we don't envision this team to open next year with Harris, Hayward, Millsap, Favors, and Jefferson starting. I mean, Dwight Howard-Light's got to play 35 minutes a night next year. If he can stay on the floor, Burks and Canner need more minutes, and suddenly you probably, excuse me, have your little allergies. You have your rotation fairly well set. Uh, you know, the bummer about the discovery of the large lineup means that I think the Jazz could really give a lot of teams trouble in the playoffs. I think we would have given Oklahoma City a fright. Possibly could have given the Lakers a fright. The Spurs, I'm not sure. I think they're immune. I think they're on a different planet than everyone else. But we'll see. Thought for you in the NBA playoffs. I have no logical, I have minor statistical reasons to believe this. But I feel as though Dallas has been laying in wait. I'm not sure that you can really, truly just turn it back on. But if you go back to the last lockout season that existed, the 98-99 NBA season, where the New York Knicks ended up being the finals representative in the East after coming in at 29-23 under Jeff Van Gundy. It was this veteran-laden team. Allen Houston was in his, I think, 6th year. Patrick Ewing was the key in the middle. He was in his 13th year. He'd had a terrible regular season. It had Sprewell was in his 7th year. Larry Johnson in his 8th year. It was a team that the year prior finished second Atlantic but wasn't as good. It had made the Eastern Conference semis and lost, and then clicked in during the playoffs. I'm wondering a little bit of whether or not that's what Dallas is going to be here. I just feel like these games get down to 72-70 or 92-92 with 5 minutes left and Dirk's on the floor, that they go get him. And I don't feel like Oklahoma City is right. I would have loved if the Jazz had played Oklahoma City because the big lineup would have caused them problems because then they would have had to keep all their bigs on the floor. So we'll see, but part of me, I think the Lakers are a bit vulnerable, and I think Dallas is ready to beat people. And so I don't know, but I don't believe Denver's good enough to get it done. So in turn, I believe Dallas is going to beat Oklahoma City in the first round and then to beat the Lakers in the second round. And I think Dallas is going to find themselves in the conference finals again. Now, who that is against, we will see. I would suspect it's against the Spurs. I don't know that the Jazz or Memphis can really cause enough issues to a team playing as well as San Antonio is. Final thing on the Warriors pick. It's all coming down to Friday. What? It's coming down to Friday. The season's over Thursday, Locke. There's a coin flip on Friday. The winner of tonight's Toronto-New Jersey game and the Warriors, after they lose tonight to the Spurs, will tie for 7th in the NBA. If the Warriors end up with pick 1 through 7 after the lottery, and the Jazz are 8 through whatever, the Jazz get it 8 through whatever. Warriors get it 1 through 7. They will tie for 7 and 8, and they will flip a coin on Friday. The irony of this is New Jersey, if they win tonight, does not own their pick. The Blazers own their pick. The Blazers, I think, will be rooting to lose the coin toss, to go to 8 so that the Warriors stay at 7, because the last thing Portland wants is for Utah to end up with a top 10 pick. If we're at 8, then you just go to the lottery and make sure the Warriors don't win. If the Warriors are at 7, then we have to go to the lottery hoping that somebody behind the Warriors pushes it to 8. According to the math I've done, the Jazz still have about a 57% chance to get the pick. So it's not all lost. NFL draft is today. Quick thought or two. 5 of the first 10 picks will bust. There is no draft in any sport that has less rate of success than the NFL draft. And yet everybody will have made a great pick. And in regards to the ongoing debate about the quarterback and Tannehill and what you do, the debate is most often talked about. It's miscouched. The discussion that most people say is, well, early pick quarterbacks bust all the time. They do. Keely Smith, Ryan Leaf, Tim Couch, run through it. They bust all the time. But find me the team that wins with a bad quarterback. That's how that debate should be couched. If you have a bad quarterback, you can't win. And so therefore, yes, you miss and mistakes are made and things go wrong, but you have to take that quarterback if there's any chance at all that he can do it. Blaine Gabbert's probably not going to be able to do it. Mark Sanchez, probably not going to be able to do it. But you had to take that quarterback. And the final thing, the quote of the day, quote of the year, Kevin O'Connor yesterday. If you're going to keep score, win. Have a good one. That's tip-off.